Hey, everybody, it's Patrick
And I'm Greg.
with the next in our series of Advent Calendar Reveals featuring retro computers that we've all used.
All right, excellent. What do we have today, Patrick?
Okay, Greg, today we have the Commodore Amiga 1000. This is, you might say, one of the few machines I haven't laid my hands on. I don't think I've ever even seen one other than online.
I've seen a couple. I've never used one, though. But let's see what kind of commercials we have lined up today.
Okay.
When you were growing up, you learned you were facing a world full of competition. There were so many of you with all the right credentials. To succeed today, you need a way to stand out from the crowd, to make the most of your special kind of music. Introducing Amiga, the computer that gives you undreamed of creative power to work faster and more productively. With built-in color graphics no other comes close to. Amiga, the first personal computer to give you a creative edge.
Experience the mind unbounded. Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Well, those were interesting commercials.
Yeah, that second one was kind of slightly reminiscent of the Apple commercial 1 year previous. That was kind of dystopian, all dark and everything. But this one ended with new life.
Well, speaking of copying something Apple did, and this wasn't a copy, but this was Commodore's push into that same realm as the Macintosh, Microsoft Windows, and Atari had the ST. Everyone was definitely getting more into the graphics screen, mouse interface.
Right.
WYSIWYG.
Yep, and more trying to go more towards production for audio and video production.
Yep. It's interesting you bring that up. There were applications that really made this machine take off. And that was in that video production. It reminds me, the Macintosh never really took off until they came out with a laser printer, and then desktop publishing went wild with it. With the Amiga, there were, in later generations of the machine, sound cards and video processing cards and software that came out that made this a very nice video editing system that cost a whole lot less than what like television stations and others were used to, paying.
Right. Well, another thing about this, they had their mouse was distinct, and it became known as the Amiga Tank Mouse.
Oh, because of its shape.
Yeah. Well, you want to know how much this thing cost?
Sure.
This came out initially at $1,285. Today's money would be $3,600. Following it, there were several iterations. Probably the most famous and most sold would be the 500, which would have been a cost-reduced version. It came out, I don't know if it was later that year or early the next year. It did use a Motorola 68,000 that ran at 7.09 for PAL versions and 7.16 for NTSC versions. It had a 256K ROM and standard 256K of RAM that you could max out at 8.5 megabytes. And it weighed 13 pounds. So they were still making them pretty beefy. And it's probably an all steel case too, I would imagine.
Well, I was going to say, later versions of this, you could get in towers.
Oh, yeah. They probably weighed even more.
Desktop machines, and you can get large towers. And those also, they started putting in 68 30 processors, I believe. They may have even skipped the 6820, which was used for a short period of time. Saying things like 68,000, 6820, 6830 is sort of relative to saying 8086, 8286, 8386.
Right. This used Amiga OS 1.0. I believe it was a kickstart where you had to insert the disk and fire it up, I think.
Oh, that it wasn't built into that ROM.
Correct. No, it was not.
Yeah. Hope you like this latest reveal on our advent calendar of retro computers. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up.
And if you want to keep watching, hit that subscribe button. And if you hit the bell, you'll get notified every time we have a new episode.
And if you haven't watched all of the videos in this series, there should be a link on your screen so you can go to our advent calendar playlist and see past episodes.